Yo, welcome back to Talking Business. This one's sponsored by, well, it's not sponsored by, but I'm drinking Days Lager, which is my new, I love this, yeah, I'm just liking this brand. Non-alcoholic beer. Spoke to the founders the other day and they were just great guys on a sick mission. So yeah, I'm having a Days Lager with this one. And in this episode, I'm joined by my best mate and co-founder, Jamo, and we are basically talking about him stepping down as CEO, an update that he's recently given out on his newsletter that maybe some people listening, watching have seen, or he actually at the time we're releasing this episode, he has also just kind of announced it externally as well. With his blog posts and stuff. So yeah, I'm basically just digging into it with him, asking him what that all means and how he's feeling about it. And yeah, it's a big kind of moment for us both as best mate, as co-founders. So it's good to get into it and talk about it together. So yeah, if you're listening, enjoy it. If you're watching, it's classic, a couple of technical difficulties. We're still new to this stuff, so I need a bit of help. If anyone listening or watching knows how to set up a good podcast studio, let me know. But yeah, if you watch it on YouTube, I'm jumping between one camera that runs out of battery to my phone that runs out of storage. Anyway, so sorry about that, but let's get into it and hope you enjoy. Boom. Yeah.
It's not quite bang on, and I'm going to publish that publicly as well.
Nice. So for anyone, because this is your newsletter, so it hasn't been gone out to, I don't know, publicly LinkedIn. It's more to there's a few thousand people that follow on your newsletter. But for anyone that, for anyone that's listening that hasn't read it yet, stepping down as Sanctus CEO, just sum it up. What is it? What is the newsletter?
Basically, it sort of highlights my inner journey to getting to the point of replacing myself as a CEO of Sanctus. So the punchline of it is that I'm not the CEO anymore. We've hired Chris. Chris is going to be brilliant. And I've made myself redundant and let myself go, essentially. That's the punchline of it. Yeah, what I wrote yesterday and the story I want to share and talk more about, hopefully now and in other places, is that's the tip of the iceberg. And I'd like to talk more about what's beneath the surface, basically all the journey and all the emotional roller coaster and turmoil that kind of got me to that point, and all the work behind the scenes that there wasn't really, less so the practical work of recruiting a CEO and negotiating a deal and all of that, more the inner work and the letting go, and how that all of that impacted and has impacted my mental health, basically. So that's what I tried to articulate yesterday, and feel like I did a pretty decent job.
The bit that I've literally just got it up here. You're like, that's the punchline. Today, I'd love to take the time to try and articulate my journey to this point. So today could be a long one, and it is. But then you had in, just as before you went on, you were like, I found a note on my phone from April 2018 where I wrote, I wonder if I'm the best person to be the CEO. Maybe at some point we could get in someone better than me. I feel like I'm holding the business back. I'd love some free space to create new things within Sanctus, like a journal. What about the Sanctus journal? And that's your little snippet. And that was 2.5 years ago, mate, that you wrote that. That's mad.
Yeah, I think there's plenty more where that came from as well. I've got other notes on my phone of drafted emails that I was planning on sending to the team. Loads of stuff like that. Basically, I think I've been on the precipice and and ahhing around this decision for a while, really. So yeah, that was the first one I found. I just went on my notes and searched for the word CEO and scrolled all the way back. And it was at a time when I was doing morning pages every day. So I had a period of just like when I was on the commute, when I was on the tube, I'd just do morning pages. So I'd get on my notes and just to start writing. And I was on the tube for 20 minutes from Stockwell to Old Street. So I'd just write. And yeah,
On your
there's all
phone.
sorts of,
So on your notes on your
yeah,
phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a way of finding a bit of calm in the chaos of the Northern Line at the time. Like it was, I could have someone's armpit right next to me, but then I could just get on my notes on my phone and sort of journal basically. And and then there's loads of stuff there, not just about Sanctus, but just my life in general. I think I think April 2018 is probably not a bad point for when I did start thinking about my role really. Up until that point, I'd never really considered my role. It was just, we were doing it together. It's just you just start a business and
do a bit,
sort of
just do a bit, and just do a bit of everything.
Yeah, see what happens really. And loosely defined roles, I think, between me and you in particular, and some of the early team, but definitely when we got to a certain size, I started to get a bit more torn and feel a bit like tortured around my role and my place. And something that started out with so much love and felt so organic started to feel a bit more like hard work basically. And April 2018 was probably the start of that. And it's not like everything since April 2018 has been shit. It's just that I think that was the first rumbling of some discontent, basically.
Yeah. Mate, by the way, I've got a fly in here. So anyone watching this, there's a bloody fly. Is it, I was just going to ask, is it annoying that you knew about this back in, like, how does it feel knowing that you knew that like 2.5 years ago?
No, it's not annoying. It's validating actually. It's validating. It's all the annoyance and the frustration and the anger. It was all self-inflicted. For a long time, I looking for something to blame, whether it's sort of startup culture or just some London, like whatever, just something to blame. But all the agony that I caused myself during my time essentially running, alongside you running the business and being the CEO was all self-inflicted. It was obviously difficult, right? It's difficult, it is difficult. You make money, lose money, hire people, let people go, people issues, strategy, no strategy, customers, no customers, or all that stuff that comes with running a business. But I knew that, so I can't blame that. And know exactly what I'm in for. So it was all self-inflicted, really. So no, I don't resent it. I think at the time I did, when I was feeling quite trapped, because that was another way of being hard on myself. It's, you knew this, James, so it should be different. So that it was, I could use that as another way of beating myself up, actually. But now I don't. Now I don't. Is the more honest answer. But yeah, probably did at the time, because that was part of the pain of, I know this is wrong. Like, I know I shouldn't. I know I'm probably better off not being in this role. I know Sanctus is going to be better without me as a CEO. I know the business will thrive more. So I knew all that rationally, and in my head I knew it all. But again, it was another way to berate myself, because emotionally I wasn't for whatever reason, or just within the business or where we weren't ready for that to happen yet. So yeah, it was another way of kind of causing myself just heartache, basically.
And like and another way of holding on as well, it sounds like.
Yeah, because also, I think my ability to sort of like predict and like call stuff and have a pretty decent vision, I think, or foresight at least, I do think would probably make me a decent CEO. So yeah, I was clinging on to the who should I be? You know, am I a CEO? Is that that word and even that phrase is so loaded for me. It's just like, I think for other people, they just don't. I look at Chris, like, I don't think he really cares what his role, what his title is. And I'm sure other people don't, but for me, that there's something about what that title and what that position meant that was, I just filled it with ego, basically, and and just thought. It just caused me so much like angst and rumination. Yeah.
Can you put your finger on what that is now? Like, where was that angst from? Was it there's the ego side to it, but was it the responsibility as well? Then ultimately, that lies with you.
I think there was a period where I was, as a startup CEO, I was stressed genuinely because of the stress of running a business. You know, so I remember sort of late 2019, and like, I find, mate, cash was all over the shop. Like, it was an absolute mess. You'd been counting all the pennies for what, 2 years, and then you need a bit of time off. So I sacked you and told you to have a month off. And I was just like, right, I'm just going to pick up all the pieces. And that end of 2019 was stressful because we'd not made a sale for a while. We doubled that year, but as you know, we'd not actually grown. We just delivered 2019. We just delivered way more because we'd signed so much late 2018. And so we'd had to just double the business quickly and get used to actually delivering that much product. And then late 2019, you were burnt out, so got rid of you for a month, just like, you know, take the time, because you were doing a COO role essentially, which is just not you at all. And, you know, so you'd been doing our finance, everything, and running the business day to day. So I was like, right, I'll just take that on. And I remember, we just didn't have, we was running out of cash. It's just that simple. We were owed like 400 grand.
Was it that much?
Yeah, mate, it was bad.
400 grand?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone told me that. I think you maybe played it down to me. You're like, yes, we're owed a little bit, George, but don't worry. Have a good few weeks off. Yeah.
Yeah, we were owed a lot, and obviously we'd raised a bit of money at the start of the year to invest, but basically we've not seen the revenue uptick from those investments, so we're burning more cash. We weren't very good at financial control basically at the time, and I was genuinely just stressed of like, right, I need to fucking sort this out basically. And then, the start of this year, you know, this is pre-COVID. Team's fat, basically, you know, spending too much. But we could see it coming because we got our act together at the start of this year. So that was genuine stress. That was just like external
business stress.
Yeah, like, you know, that definition of stress is like literally like a car going too fast around a corner. It's like there's just external force and it puts you under stress. But that was hard, but I could cope with that. Like in the end, I think I performed actually pretty well. If I look at how we've come out of this year, I'm proud that the groundwork I laid towards the end of 2019 has got us to basically being able to survive this year and thrive this year. Yeah. Underneath that, and well, not underneath, on top of that was then an internal stress of basically having to play a role. and be a CEO. And yeah, and that was I found that really difficult, because I was just being one part of me. I think, like, I can play that role, like I can do it, but I find it so draining, because it's just such a small part of me. Like, there is a part of me which can facilitate and listen and steer and guide and manage, basically. Yeah, it's such a small part of me that to only do that, I find that I have to, like, push down all these other desires and all these other parts of me. I mean, that's not so that part of that is the part of me that was just fucking plain worried. Like, I didn't feel able as a young CEO to bring that into the business and say, God, you know what? One, I don't know what I'm doing. Two, we're running out of cash. Three, oh, you know what? Actually, I just want to go and write, and I just want to create stuff, and I've got a billion ideas for what we could do tomorrow. But I had to push all that away and just be that one face, essentially. So I felt like I was just putting on an act. I was putting on an. I was playing a part. It was like I had to be like a caricature almost. And,
hold on, mate.
and
Two secs.
Oh,
my video's just gone. That's great, isn't it? You might not be able to see me.
I've got mine on charge.
How have you? I've just used been using my Canon.
I see. I plugged my phone in and then.
Yeah, nice. Right, you just said you're playing a caricature, so I'm just going to go from there. 3, 2, yeah. All right, I'm on.
Yeah, so I felt like I was playing a part. And I literally was like revving up to go into the office, like, even down to the clothes I was wearing and the music I was listening to. I was just pumped up. It's like, let's get pumped up. Let's get pumped up to do this. I'll get my high necks, roll on, and I'll zip it up, because it's like my armor, because I'm going to have a difficult conversation or relay some difficult news. And yeah, it's just simple. I just wasn't enjoying it. It's literally as simple as that. I just was not enjoying my job. I mean, at the start of the year, I'm in a founders community, and I wrote a post on that. I'm not enjoying my job. What do I do? Basically, it's just as simple as that. And I can talk more in depth about the sort of emotional side of that. But I was just not enjoying it. If you wrote that job description down, it's like I wouldn't apply for that job. It's just, it was simple as that. But I had to do it, because there was no one else to do it. I was the best person at the time. I do believe that, and the business needed leadership. It's a young business, so I felt very trapped, basically, which was not nice.
So yeah, long story short, you weren't enjoying it. But I think the thing that I think I didn't appreciate, or I think a lot of people think, is like, it's your company, like, you should enjoy it. You're running it. You're making decisions for your company, and also it feels like you're stepping away. Like you either can't take the pressure, or it's too much for you, and you'd rather just step away and leave it than have to go through that stuff. So, and there's a fine line between doing things that are hard versus like, I really, really don't enjoy it. So I guess that, and what would you say in response to some of those?
Mate, that was 100% the battle, mate, because I had so much guilt that I was even sort of like entitled enough to be not enjoying something so wonderful that so many people would kill to be doing. Like, mate, 5 years ago, I'd have killed to be where we are. Profitable business, amazing mission, sick brands, building it with my mate, love all my team, incredible, passionate, dedicated people, brilliant customers, a brilliant product. It's like, you fucking name it. Like, it's just it's the best job in the world. Yeah, I wasn't enjoying it. And I felt really guilty for even, for even feeling that way. And then the doubt was a sort of more subtle voice. It was like whispering in my ear that was just like, you're just bottling it. You're just bottling it. You just, things have got tough and you can't hack it. You're you're not good. You're not good enough. You're weak. You're a wimp. You know, you've thrown in the towel early. You want to just fucking go and, you know, do talks and all that shit. Like, I just had a sort of a bit of a darker voice in there. So yeah, I felt again, and that just led to me feeling trapped in my own head, because I felt trapped by all these different voices of like feeling guilty for even, you know, just feeling so entitled, I suppose, and so privileged, and then not being happy, and also, also in genuinely questioning whether I was backing out, because there was a time when I avoided stepping in to lead, and that was avoidance because I was scared of the edge of it, and then there was a time when I just wasn't enjoying it. I didn't want to do it. It wasn't about avoiding it. It's just like, I'm not getting filled up by this. I'm not feeling anything from it. So yeah, it was a really difficult. It's been a really difficult mess to sort through in my own head, basically.
And what was the turning point? If you think you've been having all these feelings, thoughts for like 2.5 years, putting it off, what was the point where that changed?
That's a good question. I can't think of a particular moment, and there's definitely been some pretty low moments. You know, there was just a point where I just really didn't want to go into the office, and that was difficult. I mean, there's a couple. I got to a point where I was like, I just need classic mental health story, but I was like, I need to just talk to someone about this specifically. And writing that post in the founders community I'm in was quite a big turning point, because that was the start of an opening up about it. And actually spoke, and last Christmas, so Christmas 2019, I spoke to my mum and dad at the dinner table and just said, like, I'm not really enjoying it, which was it's kind of a new thing to do, to be fair. I wouldn't have usually had a conversation like that with my mum and dad previously. A lot of journaling. I mean, the journaling.
How did that go, by the way, talking to your mum and dad?
Yeah, it's good. It was just unconditional sort of love and support, really. You know.
Did it feel good to say it out loud though to them?
Yeah, it started making it real. Yeah, you know, and two very different people, and two very different forms of support. Like my mum, just kind of like, you know, just cares about my well-being. Like, you eating enough, and yeah, you know, literally, like, if you had your dinner, like, are you healthy? And then my dad's got this sort of like almost just like relentless belief in me, really. And I think he just said to me, like, if you're already thinking it, then, in his words, knowing you've already made your decision, right? You already know what's best. So that was a big thing. But even then, I mean, that was this time last year. But then I came back into the office in January, and I'm like, well, we're losing too much money every month. So I didn't feel like I could be like, actually, guys, I've had a chat with my mum and dad over the dinner table, and I think I'm probably not the best person to be the CEO. You know,
Yeah.
it was like, so it was.
No, you are stuck. You
I was
are.
completely stuck. Yeah,
Yeah.
completely stuck because I wanted to move on. Yet Sanctus, basically, as a business, was just absolutely not ready at that point for me to move on. So I think there is probably is a more practical business story of like, how do you get your business basically into a point where it's not founder dependent, which I think we've
Part two,
done.
mate. We can come on to that.
Yeah, which is really healthy. Yeah, that they were the turning points. Just actually opening up, mate, to people like, you know, and the right people, like the founders community, for example. It's a bunch of like-minded people who some people who are either feeling that way as well or have done before. So,
and outside of us as well, like me and you would talk about it. And I'd be like, yeah, I know how you feel, mate. Let's do something about it. But it kind of stuck between us for quite a while, I think. And then once, moments like talking to your parents, I remember you sharing it in that group. That's quite a big, vulnerable thing to do in a kind of email group with loads of other founders to say, I'm not enjoying it. That makes it more real. And that being that vulnerable, it's easy. Sometimes it's easy for me and you. I definitely fall into this trap with you, mate. It's easy to be vulnerable with you because I know there's no judgment.
Yeah.
I know you're there for me no matter what. And I can half get away with thinking, oh, I've shared that now. That's good. But then the real work starts with the people around us. And and then there was the chat, I guess, with our investors earlier at the very start of the year. I remember that being quite a difficult one to name. I remember it being that was a big conversation, and then there was conversation with Jason as well. Do you remember those moments?
But we never actually explicitly. I never said explicitly in those early conversations with both the team and our investors at the start of this year, I don't want to be the CEO.
No, you didn't.
And then I didn't. I just was said, and I didn't actually know that. I was just like, I'm struggling. Like all I could say is, I don't want to do this anymore. That's just like all I could say. And that probably was so unhelpful because it's like, well, what's he mean? Like, is he bored of mental health? Does he want to go? So I didn't even, because even then at the start, I still couldn't even stomach. Because actually what I was scared of is like, well, what does that actually mean? Like, if I'm not the CEO, what the hell, like, what am I? What do I do? So even though the sort of early signs of this were there at the start of this year, and what is it now? It's November, and we announced Chris sort of full-time a couple of weeks ago. In all that time, for the whole of this year, I've just been in this like middle of being scared. It's like a trapeze. It's like, those circus trapezes where I've never been on one, but like you're swinging along and then you have to let go to then catch on to the new thing. So for a moment, you're fucking free falling. You're literally falling to your death. It sounds dramatic, but it's true. So the swing there was all right. Like, that's okay. And I got to this point right at the tip of the arc of that final swing. And I just didn't want to let go. Not because it's not right. We've done all that work. It's like, well, everyone knows this is right. The team know this is right. Investors, they don't know it, but like they won't be that bothered. Like once we have that conversation, they'll be fine. So it was me not letting go at that point because I was like, well, I'm free falling after this. Like where am I going? And I can't see what I'm going to grab onto. So I was afraid of both the free fall and the not being able to see that next branch, that next handle, essentially. And yeah, that was truly what I had to work on, basically. We had to get the business ready for that to happen, find the right person to let go to, because that's also a big part of this. And then I had to build myself up to be able to let go and cope with the uncertainty of that free fall and essentially not knowing what I was going to hold on to next.
Yeah, makes so, mate. That is it a trapezium? Is that right?
I've no
Something
idea.
like that. I know
Something
exactly.
like that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I quite like on my screen up here. I just Google things whilst we're
Yeah.
talking. I did it in my last one when I was talking about the grief cycle, mate. Uh, not sure it's trapezium, mate. Hold
Is
on.
it not a trapeze?
The trapeze. Ah, yeah, it's a trapeze. It's a
A
trapeze. A
trapezium just
short
shape,
horizontal
isn't it?
bar rung by yeah, and it swings. Yeah, I've got the photo up here. Yeah, that makes sense. I remember. Even when Chris had started, I remember having a chat with you, and I remember really like having to say it to you, like, you don't. I know you, mate. You don't want to do this. Like, it's not you. And it was
Yeah.
kind of like quite hard to like really get you to almost take it in. And maybe I wasn't like direct enough, or I could have spoken in a different way, or kind of got articulated that in a different way. But yeah, I remember there was one conversation we had where I remember coming away thinking I really had to tell him that. Like, I assumed, because we'd already started work with Chris, he was doing a couple of days a week with us. I'd assumed that was just kind of what was going to happen, and you were already there. I didn't realize kind of how emotionally kind of almost deeper it was than the practical thing of, yeah, it's Chris will be here in a bit. Yeah, that's right. I don't know if
I
you remember that
definitely,
conversation
yeah,
or.
I do. I definitely for a long time, still had that inner turmoil of like, should I be this person or not, basically, and that took a long time to work through. And there's more behind that. That was all around my me judging myself, being hard on myself. Yeah, there's a lot there's a lot in that. Yeah, at the same time, that conversation, I'm protecting myself, but I'm still protecting Sanctus at that point, because Chris was in 2 days a week, so it could have not worked out with Chris. If it didn't work out with Chris,
True.
it was like I would have had to be me again. So I just, yeah, because as well as like all the stuff that was going on for me, it's just like, mate, I just cared so much about Sanctus. It's like, you know, the thought of anything bad happening to the business, or leaving it in a not good, like healthy, safe place was it was just kind of not an option really for me. So yeah, so that was also there as well. But having said that, I do remember a conversation with you where I'd got so to the end, like I was so burned and so tired, where I was just like, if this doesn't work out with Chris, or like, I'll just fucking like quit, like I'll because it just wasn't worth the pain it was causing me. Like nothing is, basically.
I remember saying that to you. I remember saying, if it's not Chris, that's fine, but it's not you. I remember saying,
Yeah.
and I remember you going, oh yeah, it's not me. And I was like, we will recruit and hire one, and that's okay. And I think, yes, there would have been, it would have been longer to do, and you'd have probably had to like literally leave, and we'd have had to carry it a little bit until we hired that person. But I don't know, for me, as soon as, and maybe I know we're coming to the end, so there'll be there's a part 2, 3, and 4 to this, to be honest. Practically, for example, how do we get to a point where we could hire someone like Chris and hire a CEO? How do we even get there? But as Chris started, to be honest, as soon as he started, I knew we'd be all right. That's the feeling I had. I whether it was him or not, I knew he'd help us get there, and that there'd be less pressure on you to get us there yourself. And yeah, it's been tough as well to kind of like know, like it's really tough, because like I want to go in and just do it myself and save you and say don't go through that. But I'd already tried that for like a few years before. We can go into me another point. Like, I'd already been trying to do that myself for the first few years, really. And then I got to a point way before this where I was like, I don't enjoy being in that sort of role at the top. I actually enjoy being more on the ground, hands-on, creating stuff, starting stuff, being with customers, being with our team, being with our end user. I need to be external facing, not predominantly internal facing. So I learned that probably maybe, and then you from that point, you took on the reins and were like, right, okay, I'll do it. And
Yeah.
I think you learned a lot. What I saw is you relished that at first. I think for the first few years, you'd kind of let, not go of it, but you'd been marketing, brand, and I'd played the other part, and you'd been product and so many different things. But I think part of you was like, do you know what? I'd like to step into this, and I feel like I want to. And maybe because you hadn't as much, I think it was new ground for you. Think parts of it that you could learn, parts of yourself that you could learn. I think you wanted to do some of the hard stuff as well, because obviously a lot of what we've done has been very hard, but then there was parts of that were really hard for you to step into. So I think part of you I saw you relishing it, enjoying it. So I remember when you first were doing it, I remember thinking, like, I know Jamo so well, I don't think it's fully him, but I'm not going to stop. I'm going to, if he's saying he's enjoying it, sick, like keep going. And then, I then think on the opposite way, I think I was the first to then start to see you like feel really tired. You were, just tired all the time and just exhausted. And I was like, that's not how you should feel at the end of your day. And then I think I started to see it more and more kind of last year. And I didn't really know the way out of it, to be honest. I could talk to you, listen, but I felt kind of a bit stuck as well, because I couldn't give you a simple solution to it. Like, I couldn't be like, oh, well, here's this. Do you know what? I'm a CEO, so I'll take it on. And I couldn't see anyone else lined up to do it either. So I was like, fuck, where do we go here? What do we do? So
the trap was needing to let go, essentially let go of the business. And I don't mean sell it or let go of the running of it, the direction, the hiring strategy. Let go of Sanctus. That's what needed to happen. So I'm holding on to this thing that's like it's heavy and it's tiring me out and I'm fucking knackered, and holding it in that same way is not filling me up like it used to. Like in the early days, it was much lighter. It was more smaller, mate. So I'm holding it and I'm fucking running around and it's sick. Yeah. It got to the point where it's a business, mate. We've got, a couple of million a year in revenue, team of 50 people. Yeah, can't hold all that on my own. And like, so I knew I needed to let go. And everyone's like, oh, let go. I'm like, yeah, but let go to who? Like, I can't just drop this thing on the floor because it's going to smash. So, there's got to be, I had to let it go to someone else. And like, I look at Chris and working with him, he holds it so differently. He's stronger, he's bigger, he's got more experience, so he holds it differently. He also holds it more lightly. The thing, has just too much of my identity in my work. So I just struggled to, I just struggled. I just struggled because it was just so painful. It's like every day feeling like I'm doing something wrong and I'm not good enough and I'm whatever. And having so much of myself in Sanctus was just so unhealthy, really. Like, I couldn't separate. So when things were going bad, I was bad. When things were going good, I was good. And I was just too involved. Like, basically, not involved, like dependent both ways. Like, I think the business is dependent on me and I was dependent on it. And it's like I keep using analogies, but
I like the circus analogies. Keep them going.
Yeah, if you've got two planks of wood or something and you put them next to each other, so we're propping each other up and we both need to stand on our own. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship. Like, you've got to be independent.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't. And I've had to get myself personally to the point, and this is not where I am, but to basically feel like if I was to leave Sanctus or Sanctus was to go away or was to die, I'd still be okay, basically, because I didn't feel like that up until mid through this year, to be honest.
Sorry, I'm just still doing my camera. It's all good. We've got all that. Zach and Jay, we need your help, guys. I know we're at time as well. We've only got a few minutes. I guess my last question was, how does it feel sharing it now and starting to speak about it in this way from the newsletter? And I guess this is the first time you kind of really openly speaking about how it feels as well.
The honest truth is I don't even feel like I'm scratching the surface, really. Yeah, I think there's still a lot more under the hood of it, I think. About my mental health, basically, like the sort of and the impacts there. I feel like I'm kind of giving an update, like, this thing's happened. Like, we've hired a CEO and we've hired one because I wasn't enjoying it and I also wasn't doing a good job, and the business will be way better. And also, it was really difficult for me for these few reasons, but I just feel like there's an absolute melting pot of like actual reasons why, around identity, like
insecurity,
self-worth,
shame,
creativity, expression, like the stuff that I wasn't doing, also like the parts of me that I weren't out, and like it was just costing me so much to hide those and push those away. And so I feel like there's and also, like, I think there's more to it. I just believe like this is another elephant in the room. Like, I just know this is a conversation that a lot of people aren't having about work. Like, we all go to work, we all have roles at work, and I think the culture of your workplace and the role you do has a fucking big impact on your mental health, basically. And I feel like this is a conversation that's not actually being had with, especially with a lot of founders. It's such a weird thing to do, start a business. Like, it's just weird.
And I think there's a reason why it's not spoken about. It's because at the end of the day, you had that first journal note, mate, 2.5 years ago, and you only started to talk about it now because you've been in it, because you haven't known how you really feel, because there's been so many of the factors that we've just started to scratch the surface on. And I think a lot of people are in that place where, they're in it. So it's very hard to talk about anything when you're really in it like that. So yeah. And the other thing I wanted to say before we wrap up is, like, I can tell you're still in it, because, you'd sometimes hope, or you have sort of this conversation and it's like you send that newsletter, you talk to me, and it's like, God, I feel much lighter now. It's all said. We've got Chris on board. It's all done, but I can feel it in you talking and knowing you so well. It's not that light still. It's still a heavy weight on you that you're still processing, working through. So I had I think Ben calls it the shame there's like shame hangover, whatever it is, I don't know, but you're still going through it, aren't you?
Yeah, even now, like, I've still, like, there's still this part of me which is like, he's still fucking talking about this. Literally, like, no one cares, mate. Like, why are you still talking about this? Like, just fucking get on with it. So, like, that is still there. Like, we'll end this in a few minutes, and I think I'll probably be like, did I need to keep talking about this? Well, I do, because this is my style. I can't hide, whether I think those feelings are, whatever label I want to put on them, right, wrong. It's like, this has been my experience for the last 2 years. So,
and it's how you feel now. You're heavy now, and that's just fact. It's just true.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I mean, I'm not as heavy as I have been, but no. I mean, I feel light as a feather comparatively. Now I needed the like I wanted the I need someone who can actually ask me like decent questions about this. Not just like where did we find a CEO from?
Yeah, I would like to go on to that. Maybe part 3 or 4 is like practically like who is Chris? How did that happen? But I still think there's some other things that we can let's come back to. I don't know what you're up to tomorrow morning. Are you free or yeah? We'll do part 2 in a bit and continue this conversation.
There we go. I've got to go to Aldi now, do the food shop, the weekly shop. Jamo's putting up the tree, and yeah, that was great. Really enjoyed that. Nice to actually, I don't know, me and James talk a lot, but to like properly talk about it is sick. So hope you enjoyed it, and we're just gonna keep this conversation going because I think there's a lot more to talk about, and I also want to get practically into, what this means for Sanctus and how did we go about it and what happened and how did we find Chris the CEO, everything. So yeah, stay tuned. Another episode coming soon that we'll record in the next few days, and I will see you soon. Boom. Boom.